after my wife and I divorced, she went around telling people I was dead. My childhood friend went to the cemetery where I work as a security guard and shouted, "John, if you're really dead, I'll dance on your grave and make sure you never rest in peace." My ex-wife, who had come to the cemetery to get her belongings, also showed up. Don't be delusional, John. Even if you're dead, the grave is our shared property. Isn't this considered trespassing on private property? Chapter 1. For 5 years, no one cared about my PhD studies, but now as a security guard, I'm known everywhere. I was once the pride of my family. My father used to say, "I've been running a small business my whole life, hoping my son would achieve more than I did." Look at him now, a postdoctoral researcher in archaeology, with such knowledge and sophistication. My girlfriend, Sarah, though she found my parents from the countryside to be unsophisticated, stayed with me because of my PhD status. Sarah said, "John, you're a promising talent. You'll definitely buy me a big house in S City one day." Sarah and I were even recognized as a model couple at our university in S City. But later, their dreams were shattered. I left the university and became a security guard at a cemetery near the city. My father was so angry that he wanted to sever ties with me. My mother cried for several nights. Sarah tried to persuade me. "I know it's tough doing a PhD, but you just need to hang in there a bit longer until you graduate. Can't we just hold on a little longer?" I shook my head, lit a cigarette, and said calmly, "I'm tired. Being a security guard is good. Especially where I work, it's so quiet, I can do whatever I want." I asked a former colleague what to do if a customer suddenly starts talking. Guess what Maggie said? She said, "Then just put more dirt on them." Sarah's face darkened. "At a time like this, you still have the heart to joke around. I married you last week because you promised to give me a big house and a happy life. But now you're just a security guard. Why should I believe in you? Let's get a divorce." John, it's not that I'm being materialistic, but that's just how life is, and society is like this. Love can't feed you. I looked into Sarah's eyes and softly said, "Okay." So, while others rushed into marriage, we rushed into divorce. Sarah didn't look back as she got into the Mercedes-Benz of her admirer, William. The next day, I heard Sarah telling others, "John is dead. He died yesterday." In my social circle, friends posted tributes. Remembering my good friend John, rest in peace. I sat in the security room, laughing in anger. Not one of my classmates, with whom I shared 8 years, called to ask if it was true. Senior colleague Maggie took a slow sip of tea. "Now you understand why I, despite being younger than you, came to do this job." Chapter 2. John, get out here. If you're really dead, I'll dance on your grave and make sure you never rest in peace. I was still sleeping in the security room when I heard a loud woman's voice in the cemetery. But why did this voice sound so familiar? It wasn't until I opened the door that I saw the loud woman was my childhood friend, Gigi. Gigi's eyes reddened the moment she saw me. In the next second, she ran over and kicked me down. "John, you've really got some nerve. You've even learned to fake your death." She straddled me and punched me. "Tell me, what's going on, or I'll beat you to death." I explained the situation with Sarah, and Gigi finally let me go. She took out a pack of cigarettes from her pocket and handed me one. Holding a slim lady's cigarette with trembling fingers, she took a drag and cursed. I knew that Sarah wasn't a good person. I frowned. "You've never even met her." Gigi glared, and I immediately backed down. Okay, she's no good. You're the best, big sister, all right?" Gigi snorted. "Of course. When I heard the news yesterday, I rushed back on a plane. Only then did I remember that Gigi was studying in the UK. She took 2 flights to get back to the city, traveling overnight. Her eyes were still bloodshot. I hadn't had a chance to catch up with Gigi when another woman's voice came from behind. "John, you look so honest, but now you're moving on so quickly. Scumbag." I didn't need to turn around to know it was Sarah's voice. I ignored her, which only made her angrier. She stood in front of me, pointing at Gigi. "John, tell me, who is she? Did you start seeing her before we got divorced?" Gigi immediately stepped in front of me, extending her hand. "So you're John's ex-wife, huh?" "I'm Gigi, John's childhood friend and first love." Gigi emphasized childhood friend and first love, almost declaring her claim to John and telling Sarah, "You're just the ex-wife, so get lost. John has nothing to do with you now." Sarah sneered. "Childhood friend or first love, you never even got married." Gigi nearly exploded with anger, and I had to hold her back as she flailed her fists at the air, shouting, "John, let go of me. See if I don't beat this slut to death. If you keep holding me back, I'll dance on your grave when you're dead and make sure you never rest in peace." As I held Gigi, Sarah continued in a mocking tone, "Don't kid yourself. If John is dead, the grave is our marital property. You're trespassing on private property." With that, Sarah ignored the raging Gigi and got straight to the point. "John, where's my luggage?" I pulled Gigi into the security room and retrieved Sarah's luggage from the side. Sarah loaded her luggage into William's Mercedes-Benz. Before leaving, Sarah couldn't resist mocking Gigi. "You really like this fool, huh? Enjoy riding his old bicycle for the rest of your life. You'll never get to sit in a Mercedes." Gigi paused, then burst into laughter, almost out of breath. "Ha! So you're just a country bumpkin." She pulled over my 28-inch bicycle. "Riding in a broken Mercedes C-Class makes you so proud. You call this a broken bicycle? Look up Trek Butterfly online and see what it is." Sarah ignored her but discreetly took a photo of my bicycle with her phone. Chapter 3. After Sarah's outburst in my security room, our classmates realized that the rumor of my death was just something Sarah had said offhandedly. Everyone quietly deleted their morning posts from social media, as if nothing had happened. Gigi, however, was particularly curious about my situation. "Why did you quit your PhD to become a security guard?" I held a cigarette in my mouth, nonchalant. "I don't want to talk about it. It's embarrassing." Gigi suddenly cornered me against the wall, her impressive figure pressed against my chest, and even revealing a glimpse of her cleavage from her neckline. I shrank back like a chick caught by a hawk. What do you want? I'm telling you. This is a lawful society." Gigi snorted. "Cut the crap. Just tell me, are you getting back together with me or not?" I covered my head. "Big sister, that's ancient history. Getting back together? I just got divorced." Gigi didn't care. "Then I'll just marry someone and get divorced too. We'll both be on our second marriages, fair and square." I pushed Gigi away. "Go to hell. Can't you learn something good? People are golden couples, but we have to be a lame donkey in a broken cart." Gigi kicked me off the dirt bed in the security room. "You're the lame donkey." After much coaxing and cajoling, I managed to escape this ordeal with Gigi. The price was that I had to accompany her shopping when we skipped class the day after tomorrow. As soon as I saw Gigi off, her dad called. "You little rascal, I told you we were destined to be together. From now on, don't call me Godfather, just call me Dad. I'll take care of your father being angry with you. Forget the PhD, if you're not happy, don't study. Even if you indulge in eating, drinking, gambling, and smoking, I can still afford to support you." Gigi's dad paused. "But forget about visiting prostitutes, Gigi is my own daughter, after all." I rolled my eyes, thinking that Gigi must have taken after him, being so unreliable even at his age. I quickly explained to my godfather that I had just divorced and wasn't ready to think about personal matters so soon. As soon as I hung up, my phone rang again. Damn it, can't a guy be a security guard in peace? It was our dorm's third roommate. "Big bro, you should check the class group chat. Something's happened." I was stunned for a moment, then immediately opened the group chat. A photo of my bicycle had been posted by William, followed by his sarcastic comment. "I heard this is our classmate John's ride, a 30 million yuan Trek Butterfly." William, our senior and the student council president, had a lot of friends. Immediately, people started chiming in. "Yeah, right, like John could have such an expensive bike. Yeah, I heard John's dad sells rice, saving every grain to pay for John's tuition." The more people lack something, the more they flaunt it. Even if it's a fake, shouldn't he know his place? This bike is one of only 10 in the world. If his is real, I'll eat it. Someone tagged me, asking about the bike and demanding I show a receipt. I simply replied, "It was a gift. The receipt isn't with me." The group continued to mock me. Wow, so generous. Someone gave it to you, huh? With your family background, your friends must all be poor. Who could give you a 30 million yuan bike? I pulled Gigi into the group chat. She's the one who gave it to me. Gigi, not one to have the same restraint as me, immediately fired back. So what if I gave it to him? A bunch of country bumpkins. Let me introduce myself, I'm Gigi, my dad is Tom, CEO of Dashing Interpretation. If you keep mouthing off, I'll throw you all into the Bohai Sea to feed the sharks. Chapter 4. John, you're quite the show-off, bringing someone to back you up. William mocked as he kicked Gigi out of the group chat. Our classmates joined in the mockery. John, if you're going to bring someone in, at least make it believable. Tom, CEO of Dashing Interpretation, is a nationally renowned entrepreneur, and everyone knows he has only one daughter studying in the UK. John, we're all classmates. It's okay to be poor, but there's no need to fake it. I couldn't be bothered to explain and exited the chat. After a nap in the security room, I saw over 1,000 messages in the group chat by evening. My dorm's third roommate messaged me privately. Big bro, you're not going to the reunion the day after tomorrow, right? I thought for a moment. No, it's pointless. I don't want to see them. Third roommate. Big bro, just letting you know, I have to go because William is my boss. I replied with a simple no worries and closed my phone. Just after I put my phone down, Gigi messaged me. Almost off work? Come have dinner with me. I looked at the clock, the hands pointing to 11 p.m., and frowned. It's so late, why aren't you asleep? Gigi, get lost. I just got back. There's a time difference. I just woke up. Seeing Gigi's string of exclamation marks, I immediately understood that she wouldn't let me off the hook without joining her for a late-night snack. I glanced at the scene outside. It was 11 p.m., in a desolate area, surrounded by tombstones. The wind rustled the leaves, making it sound as if something sinister was lurking behind those tombstones. Shivering, I messaged Gigi. Can I not go? Gigi immediately called me on video, ready to scold me, but she burst into laughter upon seeing the cemetery in the background. Seriously? After all these years, you're still such a scaredy cat. You must be so frightened you wet your pants, too scared to come out. I thought working as a security guard in a cemetery would make you braver. I grimaced, not wanting to say a word to Gigi. She gave me an okay sign, I'm coming to pick you up. 10 minutes, sharp. Gigi hung up the video call, and I looked at the mountain road, at least 10 kilometers from the city. 10 minutes? Was she driving a rocket? I squatted at the entrance, lit a cigarette, and before I could finish it, the roar of an engine echoed in the distance. The quiet of the cemetery and the mountain road amplified the sound, making the powerful engine's roar thunderous. A beam of light approached rapidly from the distant mountain road. A GTR flew up the slope, drifted to a stop with a screeching halt, and Gigi kicked open the passenger door. Get in. God help me. Compared to riding in Gigi's GTR, I felt safer walking alone in the cemetery. Before I could react, Gigi had shoved me into the car. She sped ahead, my soul trailing behind. I had no idea how we arrived at the night market. Gigi sat confidently at a small stall, grinning at me, and shouted to the owner, Dad, 10 skewers of kidneys, with blood vessels. The owner laughed, What's this? Young man, so weak you need to replenish? I wished I could bury my head in the sand like an ostrich. However, a familiar voice at the next table spoke up, Well, isn't it John? Eating at a place like this, where's your 30 million yuan bicycle? Chapter 5. Gigi, without looking back, retorted angrily at the table, If your mouth is open, speak, if it's your ass, keep it shut. Stop spewing crap. The group at the next table included my former classmate Stephen and others who were close to William. They naturally sided with William in today's incident. One of them was even filming a video before Gigi spoke up, Look, our buddy John, so humble, riding a 30 million yuan bicycle and eating street food. But when Gigi spoke, they all stood up. Stephen, emboldened by alcohol, grabbed a beer bottle and pointed it at Gigi. Fuck. Who the hell are you calling a bitch? Gigi turned, her eyes seemingly capable of murder. Before Stephen could continue, I smashed a bottle on his head. Regardless of my relationship with Gigi, any man would react to hearing a girl next to him called a bitch. Stephen's friends immediately rushed at me, and a fight broke out. The street stall overturned as we fought, and Gigi walked away. Fortunately, my years of PhD study hadn't kept me from staying fit. These guys, who had entered society early and indulged in daily drinking, were physically depleted. I held my ground against the 5 of them, but being outnumbered, I knew it was only a matter of time before I got hurt. As I turned, Gigi ran over, holding a pot of hot soup. "Move, John." The next second, she dumped the boiling soup on them. The 5 of them jumped around, scalded by the hot soup. Our late-night snack was interrupted as the police arrived and took us to the station for statements. I ended up paying 3,000 yuan in medical expenses. As we left the police station, Gigi looked at me, tilting her head. "You're pretty good in a fight." But it wasn't very satisfying. I quickly grabbed her. "The police have mediated, don't cause any more trouble." Gigi replied with an "oh," pouting as she walked ahead. Stephen and his friends glared at her, their eyes practically burning with anger. When we reached the night market street, Stephen's group got into their car, throwing threats. "John, don't let me see you at school." Stephen pointed at Gigi. "And you, bitch." Gigi looked at me, a mischievous gleam in her eyes. "See, they provoked me. You know I don't spoil brats." Gigi gave Stephen the finger. "If you're so tough, don't move from your car." Stephen sneered. "I won't move. Let's see what you do." I gave Stephen a thumbs up, admiring his bravery for standing up to Gigi. Gigi turned a corner, and the sound of an engine revving filled the street. Thick smoke appeared as Gigi's GTR did a burnout, launching off the street. In an instant, the GTR accelerated to 80 km per hour, slamming into the rear of Stephen's Honda Accord. Using its powerful engine, the GTR pushed Stephen's Accord into the flower bed. When it could no longer move forward, the GTR began to reverse. Stephen and his friends scrambled out of the car, shouting, "This is attempted murder." Before they could finish, the GTR roared past again, smashing Stephen's Honda into a wreck. Gigi coolly got out of the car and sat on the now deformed hood of the GTR, calling her insurance company. "I need to file a claim. I mistook the gas pedal for the brake just now. No big deal at the scene, just totaled an old Honda. No one died, no one died, those guys jumped out quickly." Chapter 6. Initially, I had no plans to attend the class reunion, but it became Gigi's battleground. I complained to my friend, Old 3. "Do you think William and his friends have a death wish? Why would they provoke Gigi?" Old 3 sighed. "After graduation, things have gone too smoothly for them, so they think they're superior. Plus, with decent family backgrounds, they don't think much of anyone. It's typical youthful arrogance." Early the next morning, Gigi kicked my door open. "John, get out. We're going to the reunion." Rubbing my sleepy eyes, I tried to dissuade Gigi. "Didn't we plan to go shopping today? How about we do that instead? The reunion isn't worth going to." Gigi squinted, pinching my waist. "Stop whining. I'm going as your girlfriend, and you're complaining." I shook my head vigorously. In the end, I had to go to the reunion with Gigi. Luckily, Gigi's GTR was in the shop, so I drove. For appearances, William chose a 5-star hotel in the city. Gigi and I both found it pretentious. Such places rarely have good food, it's all for show. The best food is found in small local joints or private kitchens, which William would look down upon or not even qualify to enjoy. So, he picked this awkward middle ground. We parked my new Bentley Continental in the corner. I'm not one for flaunting, so this car rarely sees the light of day, even Sarah hadn't seen it. As we headed upstairs, we ran into William and Sarah. Sarah frowned slightly at Gigi and me, while Gigi subtly hooked her arm around mine. William, seeing his goddess frown, immediately mocked. "What, did you ride that 30 million yuan bike today too?" I didn't even glance at William, lowbrow. As we say in the Northeast, you're chewing on the same piece of crap. William's face turned red with anger, ready to retort, but the elevator doors opened. Several classmates stood at the elevator entrance, waiting for William to join them in the private room. William's lackeys quickly took his bag and coat. Yesterday's acquaintance, Stephen, started flattering and belittling. Wow, William finally got the goddess. Unlike some people, who have no class. Gigi tilted her head, revealing her small tiger teeth. Some people just lack guts. If they had any, they wouldn't have jumped out of the car yesterday. Stephen's face turned green with anger, but such an embarrassing incident was not something he could openly discuss. Upon entering the private room, William and Sarah took the main seats. I intended to sit casually, but Gigi pulled me to sit across from them. Sarah demonstratively placed her new handbag on the table. By chance, Sarah and Gigi had the same bag. Gigi laughed ungraciously. "Oh, Sarah, your bag looks so real." Sarah frowned. "What do you mean?" William quickly intervened. "Gigi, it's just a coincidence. No need to be so harsh. I bought this bag for Sarah." "Are you implying it's fake?" Judging by William's nervous expression, it was highly likely the bag was fake. After all, Sarah was just an ordinary college student and wouldn't recognize a real Hermes Himalayan Birkin bag. William might have tricked Sarah, but Gigi, whose family has a dedicated wall of bags like these, could spot a fake in no more than 3 glances. Gigi confidently placed her bag next to Sarah's. Same bags aren't a problem. It's only embarrassing if one's fake. Chapter 7. When the 2 bags were placed side by side, the differences were obvious. Although Sarah's bag was well made, it paled compared to a genuine Hermes bag worth millions. Gigi smiled. "Great replica. But be careful not to carry it into a store, you could end up on a blacklist." Sarah looked at William, hoping he could save face. William's friends tried to smooth things over. "Oh, William must have been scammed by a fake dealer. Men don't know these things, getting tricked is normal." Gigi pulled out her phone. "If that's the case, it counts as a major fraud. Let me call the police for you." "Don't mention it." The atmosphere grew tense. William's crony struggled to find a rebuttal, but William calmly produced the receipt from the store. "The receipt is right here. If you don't believe me, you can call the store." William also showed a message he sent to the salesperson. "Lisa, I'm looking for another Himalayan Birkin bag like the one I bought last time. Do you have any?" The salesperson replied, "Hello, William. That bag is no longer available. Would you like to see something else?" This subtly confirmed Sarah's bag's authenticity. William looked at Gigi, implying that her bag was the fake one. Naturally, the classmates sided with William. Some girls around Gigi's bag expressed disbelief. Nowadays, fakes are made so well they're better than the real thing. Sarah smiled, clinging to William's arm with an air of superiority. Stephen, ever the sycophant, chimed in. "He gives her a 30 million yuan bike but carries a fake bag. I guess the bike was a knockoff too." Gigi stared intently at William, humiliated like never before in her life. However, I soon noticed a flaw. The phone number on the receipt William held had the same last digits as Gigi's. I leaned over and whispered to Gigi, "For this kind of bag, each store usually only has one available. Didn't you leave without the packaging because you were too lazy to take it?" Gigi looked at me in disbelief. "John, when did you learn to read minds?" I pointed to the receipt in William's hand. "If I'm not mistaken, that receipt should be for your bag. You should call the manager since you're a VIP customer." Gigi burst out laughing, causing everyone else in the room to think she had lost it. The next moment, Gigi made a video call to the VIP customer manager. "Get to the hotel now. I'll send you the address. Your VIP client needs your service." Gigi sat back down angrily, and everyone was waiting to see her embarrassed. Across from me, William looked visibly uneasy. 10 minutes later, the manager appeared in our private room. Gigi immediately spoke up. "What's the deal with the bag on the table? Where's my receipt? If this isn't sorted out, I won't buy from your store again. Oh, and my company won't either." The VIP manager, sweating profusely, quickly called the staff. In a few minutes, the manager took the receipt from William's hand. "William, receipts are personal items. Our staff will refund you for purchasing the receipt, and that employee will be fired. Additionally, all your and your company's loyalty points and membership status with our store are cancelled. We will also sue you for harming our brand's image." The VIP manager respectfully handed the receipt back to Gigi. "Gigi, here's your receipt. Please confirm that none of your personal information has been misused. If you wish to sue this gentleman and the employee, we will support you." Sarah was mortified and stormed out. William was drenched in cold sweat. That account wasn't his personal one, it was the company's. With the membership revoked, future purchases for client gifts would cost significantly more. His position as sales manager could be at risk. Chapter 8. After Sarah and William left, the other classmates stayed, likely because William had already paid for the meal to show off, and they saw no reason to leave a free meal. Gigi and I suddenly became the ones everyone wanted to ingratiate themselves with. Stephen and his group, now sidelined, could only mutter sarcastically, "If you're so rich, why are you having dinner with us? Shouldn't you be sipping 82 Lafite and eating molecular gastronomy?" Gigi glanced at Steven. That's why you're such a poser. Only those pretending to be rich would drink 82 Lafite. She then called the waiter and ordered the only 2 bottles of Romanée Conti the hotel had. It became clear to everyone that Gigi had a background they couldn't afford to mess with if she could casually swipe a card for tens of thousands on wine. People began to speculate about my relationship with Gigi. Gigi openly declared, "John and I are childhood sweethearts. I was his first love, and now I'm his girlfriend." Everyone gave a knowing look, likely thinking I was just another guy clinging to a wealthy woman. As we left the hotel, people eyed my Bentley Continental with that same thought, rich woman's car, indeed. After dropping Gigi off at home, I saw Sarah waiting at the cemetery's security office. I coldly asked, "What are you doing here?" Sarah stared at me, then started crying. "John, we were married once. How could you let someone treat me like that?" It's hard for any man to resist the tears of a former lover. Despite wanting to shake myself awake, I couldn't help but feel pity for her and let her into the security office. Maggie, a senior colleague, saw me bring in another woman and quietly left, giving me a thumbs up as she did, as if to say, "You've got guts, switching women every day." If Sarah weren't around, Maggie's bold nature might have prompted her to ask, "Are you planning on having some fun among the tombstones?" Sarah wasn't dumb. After today's events, she clearly understood that everything Gigi said was true. Seeing that Gigi was wealthy, she naturally assumed I must be too. She looked at me and asked, "So you're actually rich, aren't you?" I shook my head. Sarah was clearly skeptical. I hurriedly explained, "The money is my parents'. It's not mine." "Sarah, then why didn't you tell me?" "Me, you never asked." Sarah bit her lip. "Were you afraid I'd be after your family's money?" I sighed. "That's not it. I planned to tell you about my family's situation if you came home with me. But you never wanted to go back to the countryside with me." Sarah looked stunned. "Isn't your family in the rice farming business?" I nodded, "Yes." Sarah was puzzled. "How much money can selling rice make?" I started to count on my fingers, then gave up. "I'm not sure exactly. Let's put it this way, have you heard of Wuchang rice? My dad's responsible for half of it." Sarah's eyes nearly popped out of her head. "And you said your tuition was saved up from selling rice?" I nodded, "Yes, my family sells rice." I looked at my watch, watching the second hand move. "All right, a second has passed. I've saved up enough for a semester's tuition." Sarah's eyes seemed to be burning with anger. However, in the next moment, she softened, her eyes welling up with tears. "John, can't we go back to how things were?" I looked at Sarah, feeling uneasy. "Sarah, my dad always said I was a simple guy, but he never said I was an idiot." Chapter 9. "Sarah, I was wrong. Please forgive me this one time." William appeared outside the security office in his Mercedes, pleading with Sarah. She looked at him, her eyes reddened further. "William, I've told you, I don't want to see you anymore. I don't like you." William, panicking, blocked the doorway. "Sarah, let me explain. I didn't mean to deceive you." I pushed Sarah towards him. "Sort out your issues outside. This security office isn't open to everyone." After shutting the door, I leaned against it, smoking a cigarette and listening to their conversation. William said, "Sarah, I did lie to you, but haven't you lived better with me than with John?" Sarah retorted, "William, I was blind to have been with you. Do you think you can compare to John? Do you have as much money as he does?" William tried to defend himself. "Sarah, you're just a gold digger. If you had known John was rich, would you have divorced him? You're just a second-hand woman. I'm only with you out of pity." Sarah, furious, kicked William hard. "Get out of my sight." William, unfazed, demanded, "Fine, give me back all the money I spent on you during this time." I watched, amused, as Sarah and William argued. William, who had always seemed so dignified, was now bickering with Sarah without any concern for his image. He forced her to return everything he had given her. In the end, Sarah was left standing in the cemetery wearing only her underwear and a bra. If she didn't consider underwear too personal to let William buy, she would have been completely naked. As William took everything, he sneered, "You're nothing without your looks. You almost cost me my job. I'll give you one more chance, apologize now, and I'll let you back in the car." Sarah spat a defiant "Get lost." William left the cemetery without looking back, leaving Sarah crouched on the ground, wearing only her underwear, her eyes red and tears streaming down her face. In the vast cemetery, only Sarah, dressed in just her underwear, remained crouched on the ground. Her eyes were bloodshot, and tears streamed uncontrollably down her face. I had always known William wasn't a good person, but I hadn't expected him to be so cruel. I opened the security office door. "Come in. It's not good to be seen like this." Sarah looked at me with red, tearful eyes. "John, will you remarry me?" I looked at Sarah seriously. "Feeling sorry for you doesn't mean I want to remarry you, nor does it mean I still like you. I'm just being kind." Sarah, like a cornered wolf, snapped, "John, stop pretending to be a good guy. You're just like William, only interested in sleeping with me. I won't beg you again. If I chose wrong, it's my own fault." With that, Sarah, wearing only her underwear, barefoot, walked down the hill. Maggie, who had been watching, came over and handed me a cigarette, squinting in the direction Sarah had gone. "You know, she seems more dignified like this." I nodded. "If she'd been like this all along, we wouldn't have divorced." I handed Maggie a military coat. "Senior, are you off duty?" Maggie gave an okay sign and casually took the coat, got into her little Polo, and drove off with a roar that nearly deafened me. I stared after her, stunned. Wow. Do all women drive like this now? Chapter 10. Big brother, look. Something's happened again. A week later, while I was still sleeping in the security office, I was jolted awake by a barrage of phone calls from my third brother. A 46-page PowerPoint had surfaced in all the school's large online groups and forums. The person who posted it was, of course, Sarah. The title was, "My ex-husband hid his wealth, abandoned his wife and child, and ran off." I stared at the PPT in shock. Sarah had saved all our chat records from the past years. Each snippet was carefully curated, painting me as a complete scumbag. According to the selective and out-of-context content, it seemed I had meticulously courted Sarah from university, slowly increasing her affection for me. Some parts were labeled by Sarah as evidence of emotional manipulation, or PUA. For example, when she had wanted a luxury handbag during college, I hadn't bought it for her. Instead of mentioning the handbag, Sarah had screenshotted our conversation. "Babe, focus on your studies while you're in school. Don't get distracted by shopping. It's not that I won't buy it for you, I just think you don't need such things in school. When you really need these things, I won't hesitate." Sarah only captured these lines, annotating them with, "Every anniversary, John would say these things, speaking righteously as if he was concerned, accusing me of being extravagant." She also posted a picture of her old bag, which she had used for 5 years and bought for 69 yuan, questioning why she was wrong to want a new one. Below that, she displayed my AJ sneakers, which cost over 10,000 yuan, pointing out that I wouldn't even spend a few hundred yuan on her. Finally, she concluded, "Maybe I'm just naive in love." I was so blinded by love that I couldn't see how much of a jerk he really is. I'm posting this to warn everyone, don't be naive in love, learn to recognize a scumbag. This is content from a day ago, mostly about the incidents in university. Accusations against scumbags in college aren't unusual, so it didn't cause a big stir. However, to escalate the situation further, Sarah updated the post this morning with the title, "After breaking up with the scumbag, I found out I'm pregnant. What should I do? I'm devastated." The post included a medical report from Sarah's hospital visit, which showed that she was over a month pregnant. Sarah continued to garner sympathy in the post. "Sisters, what should I do? I don't want this child, but the child is innocent and deserves compassion. I just hope that the scumbag, out of consideration for our past marriage, would be willing to support this child. Honestly, I don't care about myself, even if I starve, I won't beg the scumbag, but for the child's sake, I have to." She also shared photos of her previous injuries with the caption, "It doesn't matter how you treated me before, just treat our child well in the future." This post became an explosive topic, with the whole school condemning me as a major scumbag. Even my mentor called me. "John, what's going on? Weren't you married to Sarah? How did things get this bad?" I must tell you, although personal reputation won't affect your PhD graduation, it will lower your image score. I sighed, "Don't worry, Professor. I'll handle it." After hanging up, I was genuinely angry. "Sarah, I wanted us to part amicably." Chapter 11. When a woman is determined, men should be wary. Sarah stayed calm and didn't approach me for a week to negotiate, allowing the online rumors to grow. she even interacted with some commenters. Meanwhile, with Gigi's help, I was meticulously planning my next steps. After a week, the online buzz had reached its peak, with Sarah's PPT making headlines twice, becoming a prime example of calling out a scumbag. When I showed up at Sarah's door, she looked at me as if she had expected this. I dejectedly asked, "Is the baby okay?" Sarah proudly rubbed her belly. "Of course, this child is my golden ticket." Angry, I clenched my fists but spoke humbly, "So, let's remarry, and we can have the wedding we never had." Sarah scrutinized me and sneered, "Now you regret it?" "Fine, I agree, but the dowry must meet my terms." I nodded. "Of course, you name the price." A barely noticeable smile played on Sarah's lips. "Your bicycle alone is worth 30 million. I want 50 million for the dowry, is that too much?" I looked at Sarah, smirking inwardly. She really thinks she's worth that much. Even if it were encrusted with gold and diamonds, it wouldn't be worth 1 billion dowries. Naturally, if Sarah had remained loyal to me, everything I have could have been hers. But now, feigning difficulty, I said, "Although, that's a bit too much." Sarah slammed the door shut. "If not, let's reconsider this. The online discussions are still fermenting, let's see how you handle it." I hurriedly knocked on the door. I didn't say I wouldn't do it, just that it's challenging. "Give me a few days, I'll bring the dowry on the wedding day in front of everyone." Sarah reopened the door, nodding in satisfaction. "Fine, let's discuss the details." With careful planning, Sarah agreed to get married first and then reapply for the marriage certificate, calling it my probation period in a public statement. This was to ensure she wouldn't be labeled a fool for forgiving a scumbag. Even now, she was still concerned about maintaining her image as a good wife and mother. The wedding was planned to be held twice, once at the school and once in her hometown in the Northeast. The school wedding was to solidify our social ties, ensuring that everyone could supervise our relationship. Sarah initially didn't want to go back to the Northeast, but she agreed when she heard that her uncles and aunts had prepared many gifts. For days, I treated Sarah like a queen, serving her hand and foot. When we took wedding photos, Sarah specifically requested a photo where she posed like a queen, standing on a chair while I kneeled and kissed her foot. Sarah said this would symbolize her lifelong control over me. I had a cold glint in my eye, but I decided to endure it for my plan's sake. With Sarah's publicity, the entire school knew about our upcoming wedding. Alumni from 3 different graduating classes were invited. The school was eager to showcase this marriage as a symbol of the strong alliances formed among its students. Even the principal was invited to give a speech. The wedding was grand, but I didn't notify my family because this wedding was never going to happen. Chapter 12. Today is the joyous day for John and Sarah. On the large school playground, the wedding officiant passionately delivered a wedding speech. This event, attended by thousands, had stirred the entire city, with even the evening news reporters broadcasting it live. As the officiant was halfway through the ceremony, a PPT presentation suddenly appeared on the big screen behind them, looping through the content Sarah had previously posted. People started murmuring. Didn't they say this wouldn't be mentioned again? Why is it up there now? Are they not giving John a way out? Sarah quickly looked at me. It wasn't me. How did this happen? I smiled. Of course, it wasn't you who put it up there. It was me. Sarah looked at me in disbelief. The PPT then displayed different content. Next to Sarah's screenshots were clearer versions of the original chat records. In the chats where Sarah complained about not having a handbag, the original records showed. "Honey, what do you think of this bag?" Below the conversation was a picture of an LV handbag. My response was, "We're still students, there's no need to buy something so expensive. When you start working and actually need such a bag, I'll buy it for you." That's the content Sarah had captured. But what truly shocked everyone was the following message. "John, don't think I don't know your research grant has been approved. What's wrong with using a bit of that money? Why should you act like a saint when others aren't?" This statement offended most of the mentors and PhD students at the university. The principal immediately assured the reporters, "We will thoroughly investigate whether such incidents are occurring and leave no stone unturned." Sarah's image as a cold goddess quickly crumbled, and everyone realized her values were skewed. Even people watching the live stream commented, "If the wife's morals are off, the husband will eventually face consequences." Sarah reached out to me. John, please turn it off. I don't need a dowry anymore, I'll listen to whatever you say. Don't ruin me like this. Give me a way out. I sneered. Did you think about giving me a way out when you were ruining me? Then, something even more shocking happened. William, who had been missing for days, suddenly appeared at the wedding and grabbed Sarah by the hair. In front of everyone, he slapped Sarah repeatedly. You bitch, you're pregnant with my child and marrying someone else. Do you think you can make me a fool? I'll beat you to death. Everyone was stunned, but some tried to intervene. William shoved them away and held up a hospital report. This bitch paid someone to Photoshop a fake report just to marry a rich man. She changed the conception date to make everyone think the child was John's. She even asked the doctor about the risks of premature birth to cover up her lie. These revelations left everyone speechless. Sarah tried to leave the scene, but William kicked her to the ground. He continued kicking her while shouting, "You think you can take my child and marry someone else? Dream on. I'll make sure you lose this baby the same way you got pregnant." Sarah cried and screamed on the ground until some teachers couldn't stand it and pulled William away. The scandal spread online for days, and soon everyone knew what kind of woman Sarah was. As the drama unfolded, the real protagonist suddenly appeared. Gigi, wearing a wedding dress, ran across the field. "John, just marry me already." Everyone was shocked by Gigi's boldness. She continued, "John, don't think I'm cheap. I've only ever loved you in this life. I'm also a girl, and it took a lot of courage for me to come here in a wedding dress. We've known each other for 30 years, and I know you're the one I want to marry. If you don't marry me today, we'll never see each other again." Gigi lifted her wedding dress, revealing black straps tied around her thighs, with a box attached. She handed the box to me. "I've prepared the wedding ring. John, will you marry me? Will you put this ring on my finger?" I stared at Gigi, my eyes red. "I will." Gigi jumped up and hugged me. My mentor came over with a pair of wedding rings. "John, this girl is great. You two take care of these rings." Gigi threw the ring meant for Sarah onto the field. "Screw the ex, from now on, I'm John's wife." I nodded. Epilogue. "John, if you don't quit this lousy job, I'll go dance on someone's grave." Gigi sat in my security guard booth, eating chips and asking me to massage her legs. I looked at her, exasperated. "Have some respect, old lady. The people are already dead, don't mess with them." Gigi pinched my waist hard. "Who are you calling old?" I quickly begged for mercy. I'm old. Gigi grinned mischievously and reached for my weak spot. "Let's see if you're really old." I yelped and jumped up. Just then, my phone rang. I motioned for silence. My mentor's voice came through. "You were supposed to come back earlier, but I gave you some time off because you just got married. Now, you can return. We're heading to a tomb for some archaeology in a few days." I wilted. "Can I skip it? I'm scared of ghosts." My mentor scolded me. "John, show some backbone. I sent you to work as a security guard at a cemetery to toughen you up. If you don't come with us this time, I won't let you graduate." Gigi, eavesdropping, grabbed the phone. "Don't worry, Professor, John will definitely go. If he doesn't, I'll tie him up and bring him myself." The professor praised Gigi. "John, you've married a good woman." Before he could finish, Gigi interrupted. "Professor, I have one request, can I join you in the tomb? I've never seen a big mummy. And it'd be great if we could visit Changbai Mountain to see the Bronze Gate. If there's no budget, it's fine, my dad has." "Hey, Professor, why did you hang up?" 10 minutes later, my phone buzzed with a message from my mentor. "Come quietly tomorrow morning at 8, and don't bring that crazy wife of yours."